And good day. We are coming to you from Uvalde, Texas, where officials from the Texas Department of Public Safety are about to give a briefing. They are the agency assisting the investigation into the school shooting that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. And today there are growing questions about the police response and whether they waited too long to enter the classroom and stop that shooter. Some reports suggest they waited anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams joins me right now. Pete, the biggest question right now is why that armed security guard, the school resource officer who encountered, confronted, engaged, we've heard every single verb, why that officer did not shoot the gunman who entered the school.
If in fact he didn't, we're still waiting for a solid answer on that, Tom. And also, once the police officers got into the school, and we believe Ramos then locked the door. That's what they meant by saying that he barricaded himself in. We think they meant that he locked the door. He was apparently firing through the wall at the police officers. He had a very powerful weapon with rounds that were capable of actually cutting through the wall. So the police were taking fire outside that classroom, and of course they couldn't see into the classroom. So that may be one reason why they were not firing back. They didn't know at that point where the children were, where the teachers were. It would have been very difficult for them. But there are lots of questions. And Tom will listen in now.
Thank you so much for being here today. My goal today on this press conference, is to give you a snapshot where we're at today. This incident happened on Tuesday, May 24th, so there's a lot of information, a lot of moving parts. We have a lot of people involved in this investigation. I'm going to give you a summary of what happened, but before I do that, I was able to make it here during the event on May 24th. Same with a lot of other law enforcement officers that came to this event, this critical incident. I got to see the victims, I got to see the officers, I got to see the community members. It is so hard. It's hard to take, it's traumatic. We're all hurting inside. We're hurting inside for the community members in Uvalde, Texas. We're hurting inside with our local partners that have to live here and work here every day. The victims, the family members, we feel for them. I'm a father. I can't go home tonight and hug my kids. That hurts. The members behind me are family members. Their kids. It's tough. It's tough, it's hard, but that gives us the motivation to move on, to do good work for Uvalde, Texas, for the victims. We speak for the victims, and we take that dearly. Before I get started, Texas Rangers are leading this investigation, but we can't do it alone. We cannot do it alone. We have ATF, FBI, CBP, Border Patrol, Uvalde County District Attorney's Office. The list goes on and on and on. But the agencies I told you are the main ones that are assisting with this investigation. We want to know what happened, recreate the scene. That takes days, that takes hours, that takes time, a lot of information. Then we have to do a lot of interviews. So we just started. We started on Tuesday, today's Thursday. We're still grabbing a lot of information. We also, what's important to us is why. Why did he do this? Why did he do this? Who is this man? The suspect. We're going to find out. With all the different agencies that are involved, we're working every angle that's available. And we won't stop until we get all the answers that we possibly can. So again, I want to thank these men and women that are behind us supporting the DPS and the Rangers. So there's a lot of information I'm going to give you. There's some new information as of Tuesday that I wanted to clear up, that we want to clear up, that's been pushed out. We'll continue to have updates in the coming days once the information is obtained and we're able to confirm and corroborate that. We want to make sure we're pushing out the right information. Early on, when we came in, we were receiving a lot of information from a lot of different locations. That's a baseline. You start there. We made some reports, but since then, we started doing interviews, we started working the crime scene, so we're cooperating. I want to share some of that. It's a small piece of information right now, but it'll grow within days. So please, thank you for being here and being patient with us. It means a lot. On Tuesday, May 24th at 11:28, suspect just west of here wrecks his vehicle, pickup truck that he took from his grandmother. He had just shot his grandmother in the face. She's alive. She's stable at this point. 11:28, he's sitting there at the Bardage. He jumps out the passenger side of the truck. According to witnesses, he's got a long arm, rifle, and a bag. Later we find out it's ammunition. He walks around, he sees two witnesses at the funeral home across the street from where he wrecked. He engages and fires towards them. He continues walking. He continues walking towards the school. He climbs a fence. Now he's in the parking lot, shooting at the school multiple times. 11:40, he walks into the west side of Robb Elementary. According to reports, video we have obtained from outside, inside, and again, we're still combing through that, so bear with us. Multiple rounds, numerous rounds are discharged in the school. We're trying to get a number. We're in the process of analyzing that video. 4 minutes later, local police departments, Uvalde Police Department, the Independent School District Police Department are inside, making entry. They hear gunfire, they take rounds, they move back, get cover. And during that time, they approach where the suspect is at. According to the information I have, he went in at 11:40. He walks, and I'm gonna approximate 20 feet, 30 feet. He makes a right. He walks into the hallway, he makes a right, walks another 20 feet. Turns left into a schoolroom, into a classroom that has doors open in the middle. Officers are there, the initial officers, they receive gunfire. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire they're receiving. But we have officers calling for additional resources. Everybody that's in the area, tactical teams. We need equipment. We need specialty equipment. We need body armor. We need precision riflemen, negotiators. So during that time that they're making those calls to bring in help to solve this problem and stop it immediately, they're also evacuating personnel. When I say personnel, students, teachers. There's a lot going on. A lot complex situation. They're measuring. Approximately an hour later, U.S. Border Patrol tactical teams arrive. They make entry, shoot and kill the suspect. But you also had a Zavala County deputy and Uvalde Police Department that made entry and killed the suspect. Immediately, numerous officers. Now it turns into a rescue operation. How do we save these children? How do we save these children? Some made it out. We don't have a hard number yet, but that was a goal. And then continuing, making the area safe, continue. It's a lot of moving parts afterwards. But during, they were taking gunfire, negotiations, and developing a team to make entry to stop them. I'll take a few questions. And again, look, summary. One more thing I forgot to mention that I want to clear up that came out early on. It was reported that a school district police officer confronted the suspect that was making entry. Not accurate. He walked in unobstructed initially. So from the grandmother's house to the bar ditch to the school, into the school, he was not confronted by anybody. To clear the record on that. 4 minutes later, law enforcement are coming in to solve this problem.
So, Director, how is he able to
Step
take
by.
access?
So, just want to clear that up. That's very important. And again, this will happen as we move forward. So, thank you. I'll take a few questions.
How did he get in if it was a school that's supposed to be locked during the school day?
So right now, during the investigation, it appears it was unlocked. So we're going to look at that and try to corroborate that as best as we can.
You know why?
How many gunshots were there?
You know why he was unlocked?
I do not. Hey, please, one at a time, and we'll address as many questions as we can. So let me finish this question.
One at a time, announce your name, announce your network, okay? Be respectful, please.
Josh Margot, and how do you know why it was unlocked?
So Josh, thank you for the question. So right now, it appears it was unlocked. Like I said, it goes back to the investigation. It takes time. We will find out as much as we can why it was unlocked, or maybe it was locked. But right now, it appears it was unlocked. So thank you. Yes, sir.
You say at one point when he was inside there, among the things you were attempting negotiation, was he responding to negotiation? And in that period of time, was there continued gunfire?
So during that time, right now, according to the information we have, the majority of the gunfire was in the beginning. In the beginning. I say numerous, more than 25. I mean, it was a lot of gunfire in the beginning. During the negotiations, there wasn't much gunfire other than trying to keep the officers at bay. But that could change depending once we analyze the video. But right now, according to the information, he did not respond.
Director over here. Director, Tom Llamas with NBC News. My question is this: was there a school officer on campus, and was that school officer armed? Because that's what we've been told.
So at this time, no. There was not an officer readily available, armed. No.
Was there an officer?
No.
Why?
Nothing. I can't answer that yet. I'll circle back with you again. As we do that investigation, we have all these questions we want to answer. So, but I'll get back with you, sir.
There's a 12-minute gap. There's a 12-minute gap from when he crashes his truck to when he enters the school. 12 minutes. What happened in that 12 minutes?
You gotta understand, 11:30 is the information we have at this point that we can confirm. 11:30 a.m. the PD gets we got a crash and a man with a gun. And then you have responding officers. That's what it is. If it's 12 minutes, from 11:30 to 11:40, that's the information we have right now. Look, at the end of the day, our job is to report the facts and have those answers. We're not there yet. Over here.
When was the first 911 call to officials? When was the first 911 call?
Say it again.
When was the first 911 call into officials? How long did it take to respond to the scene?
So right now, the first 911 calls at 11:30. I will get the time what it took to respond. So we'll have that answer.
Gone in before an hour elapsed.
There's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities. Until we receive an interview, because there was numerous officers at that classroom, numerous. Once we interview all those officers, what they were thinking, what they did, why they did it, the video, the residual interviews, we'll have a better idea. Could anybody have gone there sooner? You got to understand, small town. Yeah, people from Eagle Pass, from Del Rio, Laredo, San Antonio responding to a small community.
Based on the information you have so far, sir, should the officers have gone in sooner? Should they have waited for those tactical teams, or should they have gone right in?
That's a tough question. That's a tough question. Again, it goes back, our job is to report the facts. Report the facts, and later we can answer those questions.
What you know so far, should those officers have
I don't have enough information to answer that question just yet. One more question, please.
Is it accurate that eyewitnesses and potentially parents of the students were urging the police to go in while you were waiting for a tactical SWAT team, even that some parents were asking to borrow police armor so they could make a counter-assault on the school?
I have heard that information, but we have not verified that yet. So
What part haven't you verified?
we have not verified is that a true statement or not, or is it just rumor out there? So you got to understand, we're getting a lot of information we're trying to track down and see what is true. We want to vet it. That's all I have for questions. Thank you so much.
Did you follow best practices for our future scenarios?
So look, we appreciate the questions.
What were the officers doing between 11:44 and 12:44?
I got you.
It's
Yes, sir.
barricaded behind that. You guys have said that he was barricaded. Can you explain to us how he was barricaded and why you guys cannot breach that door?
So I am taking all your questions into consideration. We will be doing updates. We will be doing updates to answer those questions.
Answer that question now.
I think there's a lot
What
of
is your name?
Shimon Prokopez.
Shimon. I hear you.
Because we've been given a lot of bad information, so why don't you clear all of this up now and explain to us how it is that your officers who were in there for an hour, yes, rescuing people, but yet no one was able to get inside that room.
Shimon, we will circle back with you. We want to answer all your questions. We want to give you the why. That's our job. So give us time. I'm taking all your questions. I'm taking them back to talk to the team. And look, thank you for being here. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay, we have just been listening to Victor Escalon. He is the regional director for the Texas Department of Public Safety, the Texas Rangers here in this area. He held this news conference to clear up a lot of information and to clear up the timeline. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be even more questions. What we just learned, the main piece of information, initially NBC News and several other news outlets had been told there was an armed police officer from the school district who was here, who engaged or confronted the shooter. It is clear now that we are hearing there was no officer on campus whatsoever. This shooter, the 18-year-old with an AR-15 style rifle, was able to freely walk into the school. The school doors also were not locked. There's also a big question on the timing here. There was a 10 to 12-minute gap from when he crashes his truck and police are alerted about a man with a gun to the moment he apparently enters the school, which is 11:40. 11:28, then 11:40. Police did not have an answer on why they did not respond and stop him during that timeline. One of the things he said was this is a small town. He is asking for patience. He says they are hurting inside. But he also at one point said that there was county police here, local police here, Customs and Border Protection, all types of officers, and yet they were not able to stop an 18-year-old with an AR-15 style rifle from this bloodshed. I want to bring in Pete Williams now. He's been tracking this with us along with our investigative team. Pete, still a lot of questions, but we filled in some holes there. If I'm a parent, if I'm someone in this community, I don't know if I'm going to be satisfied with those answers.
No, and you certainly wouldn't expect to be at this early stage either. There's still a lot of work here yet to be done. I do think perhaps the authorities now in Texas understand the urgency of trying to answer some of these difficult questions about the timeline. So he crashes the truck at 11:28, according to the DPS, the Department of Public Safety. It was at 11:30 that the police department gets the first 911 call. He then enters the school at 11:40, they say, and the first police are in at 11:44. So 14 minutes after the police first got the 911 call. We now know, and by the way, some of the information that we got yesterday, they now say is incorrect. It was something they reported yesterday. You may recall that the Department of Public Safety said yesterday that there was a school safety officer who, I believe the term was, encountered him outside the school. But as you say now, we know that's not correct, that there in fact was no armed public safety officer on campus at the time, and that the school doors appear to have been unlocked. We think the classroom door must have been unlocked as well. Now, the school district had a policy, a security policy that they put into effect here in recent years that required all school doors, all classroom doors to be locked at all times. That's what the policy said. Now, we know there was an award ceremony going on in the school on Tuesday, and perhaps that led to some relaxation, but that's another thing that they're going to have to look into. He said he wasn't even certain whether the door was in fact locked, Tom.
Right, and Pete, we should also point out, since the Santa Fe shooting, which was another school shooting here in Texas, they have doubled the budget for security in this school district. They have run drills, they have enhanced security, they monitor social media, they've tried to be better. And something else, Pete, we should also talk about here, a lot of people have asked why it was a Customs and Border Protection tactical team that took out the shooter, and it sounded like police officers were waiting for the right type of law enforcement that had the right type of equipment to breach the door and take out the shooter. Is that how you understood it, Pete?
Yes, I think there are two things about this that required them, or they felt they had to wait for a tactical team. One is they were taking fire, we're told. Now that wasn't clear, I must say, from the briefing so far, but what we've been told is that once Ramos got into the classroom and they got outside, he started firing at them through the walls of the classroom. The weapon that he had, firing 223 rounds, had the firepower to be able to get through the walls and perhaps even penetrate the bulletproof vest that police were wearing. So he, in essence, had them pinned down. That was part of the problem, as we understand it. And secondly, is their inability to get the door open. We were told that they did try to get the door open by ramming into it, but couldn't, and needed to wait for the more sophisticated equipment that the tactical team would have had to do that.
All right, Pete, stand by for us. I want to go to Morgan Chesky now, who has been covering this story from the get-go for us. He's been talking to a lot of the families. And Morgan, I know you're at the town square right now, and we drove by it earlier. They have set up memorials, if you will, crosses, I believe, of each of the 19 students, these little young victims, and the two teachers around that square. We cannot forget ever the victims of this shooting. And there was one piece of video that struck us overnight that came out. It was the video of the parents who were here pleading with officers to go inside, screaming at them to go and save their children. Today's news conference, we did get some more clarification, but again, I think these parents are going to grow even angrier once they realize that there was no officer, no armed officer, no officer whatsoever on the campus, and it took so long for police to get here.
Yeah, Tom, anger, sorrow, frustration, take your pick. The community of Uvalde feeling all of that, and we are in the town square, and this has become almost a heartbeat for this small community. 21 crosses behind me, Tom, each with a name on it. Second, third, fourth graders, two teachers that tried to protect them as best they could when that gunman walked inside that classroom and opened fire. We do know that people are coming to this place from all over this region in South Texas. I spoke to one gentleman who grew up here but moved to San Antonio. He brought his young children here, and they went one by one down this row of crosses, paying their respects. Each cross has a heart on the front where people can put their names and offer words of encouragement to the families now forced to try to move on from this horrific tragedy. I spoke to a young mother who brought her two children here. Her eldest son just in first grade. They go to Uvalde schools, but they were not at Robb Elementary, thank goodness. She says it was important to come here so they could just feel this moment as a family and try to take their first steps forward, although it will be incredibly painful. Nobody has a definitive plan here, Tom, on how to move on from this. They're doing the best they can. We know that grief counselors are still at that civic center about a quarter mile from where I'm standing. Teachers, community members, welcome to come there, share what's ever on their heart as they try to move forward from this. And Tom, keep in mind, amidst all of this today, should have been the last day of school, a thing that so many kids look forward to, families look forward to, the start of summer. Today, instead, it's a day of horrific sorrow. Tom?
Horrific sorrow, and there are crosses there, Morgan. There are crosses just behind us here as well at the school. Before we go, I do want to bring in Cedric Alexander. He's an NBC News law enforcement analyst. Cedric, I do want to get your take because there's going to be a lot of criticism. There's going to be a lot of judgment. You have been on the front lines of violence here. After hearing what you heard, how should America look at what happened here and the response from law enforcement?
Well, I believe more and more people have become more confused actually after that press conference, because one thing you're going to have to be very clear about with the public who is outraged there in that community and across the country, the death of those children, is being able to provide as much accurate information as you can and not delay that information. I think under this particular set of circumstances, as at any school shooting, and certainly I've been there before in 2013 in DeKalb County, Georgia, it's a lot going on. You have a lot of communication going on, a lot of different agencies responding from a number of different departments, and you're doing the very best you can under the circumstances. But one thing that was trained after Columbine is that officers that respond first to the scene, to do everything that they can to get inside the building, engage the subject, and at least distract him away from his intended targets. I don't know if that was the circumstances here, but those are the questions that are going to continually be asked. And I think it would be to the best interest of law enforcement, particularly DPS in that community, to be able to quickly respond to many of those questions before things become more complicated.
Cedric Alexander, we appreciate your analysis. We thank you for joining, and that's going to conclude our NBC News special report. Lester Holt, he's going to have much more from here in Uvalde tonight on Nightly News. I'll have more this evening on NBC News Now's Top Story. For now, I'm Tom Yamas in Uvalde, Texas. Thank you for watching.